I'm Jerry. Yeah, I'm Jerry. Thank you for saying Ochterman. Acterman.
Acterman.
Achterman. Ochterman. Yeah, I would say right now I'm in the business of I'm freelance. Project to project. It's a hybrid. It's a very hybrid workflow. I just go check in the mirror and like shore up any. I'm certainly a composer. Yeah, I've been making music for over a decade now. I wrote my first composition in 4th grade. Just like scrawled it on a notepad and like gave it to my orchestra teacher. And I was like, what do you think of this? He said, oh, you got like a C major chord there, going to F major. And I said, yeah, that's what I was going for. The thing is that I used to compose like to procrastinate other things. And you know, I haven't seen it in a long time, so I could be misremembering it, but I watched this TED talk about like procrastination and about how like really cherish the things that you do when you're like putting off other stuff, because like that's where the real joy is. Over time, you know, as I started like being really serious about composition, it became less of like the thing that I do to procrastinate other things, and it became like the opposite. It was like I don't want to compose right now because it's like what I have to do. So I'm thinking like maybe if I centered my life around other things, and then, you know, such as teaching, such as service, and then maybe the composing part would like be more joyful, I guess. Yeah, but also, you know, if Hans Zimmer gave me an internship, I would definitely take it. Right. So I guess what I'm saying is I haven't made up my mind about the composer aspects, about what role I want that to play. Yeah. It's so funny that they like built it around this
I know,
church
yeah.
Here. First church.
Yeah, and the church is so different.
We got the Ionic columns.
Yeah.
5th grade, 6th or 7th grade history class.
I never learned all those. What makes them Ionic?
The little scroll.
Okay.
Doric is just boring. It's just, there's nothing there. And then Corinthian is like, it looks like curly hair or something. It's like those like little frills coming off.
I've definitely seen that before.
Okay, I'm gonna back up. So there's a John Cage piece. This is going somewhere. So there's a John Cage piece. It's not 433, and it's one of those like direction like recipe pieces where it's just text, and I don't actually remember verbatim what the text says, but it's something about how like you have to like make a decisive gesture, you know, and it's like up to the performer like what the decisive gesture is. And I've always really liked that. And so if there's no like visual, you know, component that I'm like responding to, then usually it boils down to like, okay, what's a decisive gesture that I can make? And yeah, so I usually think about that, and then I'm like, because I want the music to like commit to something, I guess. And then beyond that, it's just like, what's a cool harmony? What's a cool rhythm? And for those, I just look anywhere. Maybe it's like tapping my fingers or something. Or it could be external, like I'm listening to, this drummer that I really like or something. And there's like, a rhythm in there that I would like want to put in. Yeah. And then harmonically, it's usually just like, vaguely jazzy stuff. Yeah. Like I'm like, if every time there's like a chord, like if you have a chord, I want to add stuff to it, but not so much that it becomes hard to follow, like, annoying, like music, like snob, like conservatory student reharmonization. Like I try not to get that far afield, but I at least want it to be like, have some color, and same with the rhythms. I'm just like, I don't want it to be like so hard to follow, like you can't even feel a pulse. Like I want it to groove, but then I don't want it to just be stock, kick snare. Oh, speaking of kick snare, another rhythmic thing that I like is like, even if the instrumentation doesn't have a drum set, I like to think in terms of kick snare. Okay. So it's like, because I think, if you have, if there are all these rhythms going on, like it's just, it's a mess or whatever, until if you add a kick and a snare, then all of a sudden, like your brain can make sense of it. And like, I think Jay Dilla was really good at that, with like all of his like, crazy beats that he made, where it's like, he really understood that you can have whatever you want going on, but if there's like a kick on 1 and a snare on 3, then you can kind of make sense of it. So for example, like if I go like, so if this is the kick and then this is the snare, and then maybe I'm saying with my mouth other rhythms, so I'm going like, right, like it doesn't matter what I'm doing, like I just made that up with my mouth, but like the kick and the snare are there, and so then it's like I know where I am in the rhythm or something. But yeah, and then to go back to the question about being inspired, so I think one of the reasons I like collaborating is because, well, it's fun to, it's a good way to like get to know people and stuff. And it's more exciting if it's a social activity, but it's also like, it's easier to be creative in a collaboration, because, maybe I'm responding to someone's short film that they made or something. Like, I guess it's in my brain now because I'm like working on a short film, but it's like I already have a visual thing to go off of, and then the pressure's off kind of, and so I don't really have to, I don't have to be the creative force, which is kind of nice. I feel that. Yeah, and oftentimes like the director already has a lot of ideas, and even if they're not musical, like music specific, they're like qualitative like descriptions or something. Usually what happens is, like, for example, like I'm working on this movie that my sister just shot, and then we had like a FaceTime about it, and she was saying she already had so many ideas. She was like, it needs to be whimsical, like it needs to be floaty, and it can't be, she was like, it can't be heavy, it can't be too heavy, like don't have too much to weigh it down, like it has to feel like it's not of this earth. And so, and even though that sounds really like vague, like to me it was like, oh, I know exactly what this is, because like I think what she was saying is that like I can't have too much in the low frequencies, basically, which is like a very good direction to have, because even as simple as like choosing the instrumentation, like now I know, like I'm gonna need flute, I'm gonna need some like twinkly percussion, I'm gonna need she said no cello. She says cello is too, that was the one direction that she had that was like very specific. She was like, the cello is too grounded, which I thought was interesting, because it, you're like, you're playing it and you're like, it has a big resonating body. Mm-hmm. And she's like, no, it has to just kind of be floaty. And so, yeah, so like direction like that is really, I think, what spurs my creativity, because all of a sudden I had a bunch of ideas, and I maybe wouldn't have had those if I was just starting from a blank. Yeah, starting from nothing. Yeah. Theory, music analysis. Heinrich Schenker.
Yes. Oh my
Huge
God.
Nazi.
We talked about him in my class.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah. And like, you can't really do graduate work in music theory without, Schenkerian analysis.
Right.
Like, that is the establishment. Like, that's like, people like can't imagine another way to have these grad programs.
Right.
It's so fundamental,
Yeah.
So, and the argument against, you can just say, okay, well, he was a Nazi in his like personal life or whatever, but like maybe this mode of analysis is like divorced from that ideology. But there's some of his writings, I think, the way I understand it anyway, some of his writings talk about like how, well, first of all, his whole thing is about taking like a piece of music and boiling it down to like its essential notes. He calls it the ersatz, is like the hidden, like it's like German for like something about hidden something.
Okay.
Something about how it's like the hidden structure.
Yeah.
And it's like the most important notes. And there's like, he has all these diagrams of like, you take like, an entire symphony, or sometimes it's just like 32 bars or 16 bars or something. And then it's like, and then he boils it down to like only the most important notes. And then he boils it down even further to just like, mi, re, do, basically.
Yeah.
And like, that's the progression of like an entire symphony. And so, but he connects that in his writings to like that some notes are just more important, to like a eugenics argument of like some notes or some people are just more important. And so it's like, but then, maybe it is baked into the analysis. But also,
definitely got to be a jump between reading notes that way and treating people.
There's got to be. That's true.
But yeah, I mean, it spoils it to know that was on his mind when he came up with that.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about it, because like, it is a really good way of like analyzing, late romantic opera. Like Wagner's like Ring Cycle or whatever. Like it makes a lot of sense. It fits with that. But then when you structure entire like postgraduate programs around it, then it starts to seem like that's the best music,
Right.
And then
right.
and so it's like,